And welcome in to season number 16 of Citadel GrayLine. This is the program that we started back in 2008. A guy named Jim Waddell and myself and Jeff Hartzell, we got this thing going. It's a weekly show that is all about the Citadel Bulldogs. Jon Rawl is my name, and it is great to be on once again with Citadel GrayLine as we give you a great dose of what's going on with Coach Maurice Drayton and the Citadel Bulldogs, as he's the new coach, the new man in charge at South Carolina's Military College. And to help me with season number 16, I've got Thomas Scruggs and Andrew Miller, the Bulldog beat writer for the Charleston Post and Courier. We'll bring those guys on in just a second, but also as we start off this season, want to thank all of you for following us on the Citadel GrayLine on Facebook, as we have our Facebook page. Just search Citadel GrayLine. It's right there. So all of you who follow us throughout the year on that, thank you. And then again, a special thank you to our sponsors that have helped bring this show to you since back in 2008. And we've got some awesome new sponsors that we can't wait to tell you about as we go through today's Y'all show. We also have Knob Knowledge coming up on today's show, all about Citadel Bulldog sports. But I'm going to hush up for just a second and welcome in my co-host here from Citadel GrayLine, and that would be Thomas Scruggs. Thomas, how you doing? Hope you've had a good couple of, 9 months or so since we last got back together here on the GrayLine?
Glad to be back.
Thomas, I'm sorry I had your microphone cut off. Some of our problem with being off the air, so screw-ups by the host. So if you don't mind, try that once again.
Okay, do you have me? John, are you there?
I'm here. Sorry. Let's try that again.
Okay. So, yeah, John, definitely glad to be back. Another season of Citadel GrayLine under our new head coach, Coach Drayton. A lot of excitement around the program, so can't wait to dive in.
All right. Well, we can't wait to go in head first, covering Bulldog sports. And to help us do that is our guy who really is out at practices and covering Bulldog sports in a huge way. That's Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier. Andrew, we welcome you back into Citadel GrayLine.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Looking forward to it. And should be an exciting year. I think there'll be some transitions out there that I hope the Citadel fans will be patient with, but I'm looking forward to a really exciting football season.
All right, and we look forward to having people chime in here on our program. If you've got something you want to text us, we welcome that, as we have a text line open right now, 843-779-8496, 843-779-8496. Andrew, let's start with you. What is the latest with Maurice Drayton's Bulldogs as they get ready to have the opener at Georgia Southern this weekend?
Well, I think the biggest question mark, obviously going in, and I wrote about it for Tuesday's newspaper print edition, was who's going to be their starting quarterback. Is it going to be Dustin Fletcher and Underwood? And they've kind of been in a battle throughout the preseason practice here. You can't forget about Varney Lane either. He's in the mix as well. As he's number 3 on the depth chart right now. But I was a little surprised that Maurice Drayton did not name Carter on Monday at the press conference. I think he was surprised as well. I don't know that either guy has really been able to be consistent, efficient enough. I think, like I said, the article, like Mike said, guys have shown flashes where they've been very productive and they've been able to move the Bulldogs' new more spread option offense. It's more like Coastal Carolina's offense than the traditional triple option. But I think he's surprised right now. I think he thought that one of those two guys would kind of take the bull by the horns, as they say, and become the starter, but they haven't. So I think Saturday night in Statesville, Georgia, we're going to see both quarterbacks playing at least a little bit.
Thomas shared with me earlier of how Coach Drayton at his Monday press conference didn't hold back. Thomas, what was that clip you shared with me? I believe Darren there, and maybe I don't know who it was. Somebody in the Charleston area posted that out on social media.
Yeah, John, that was Scott Eisner. I believe he's head of sports for one of the local stations down there. Shared that clip on his Twitter feed, and Coach Drayton was none too happy with the practice, I guess, this week of the team. Basically just said, we don't have a very good team right now. We're not ready. So and a lot of the feedback from the alumni base is an appreciation, for that level of honesty, where we are. So definitely Coach Drayton doesn't think we're game ready yet. Hopefully, we'll improve this week in practice. Of course, this storm coming through, I'm sure, is going to affect practice, for the next couple of days or at least today, that is. But, yeah, we'll see.
And very apropos that you would bring that up. Andrew, I know the Post and Courier and everybody working in Charleston throughout the Lowcountry, and especially those of you who might be watching us in South Georgia or Florida, our thoughts, of course, with what's going on with Hurricane Idalia as it hit Florida earlier today. What can you relay about not only the welfare of the Lowcountry and beyond, but also from a football standpoint for the Citadel and Georgia Southern Saturday, Andrew?
Well, Maurice Drayton said that they would practice in these elements today. I know the hurricane is really, it's raining now. I mean, it's raining outside in my Mount Pleasant home. It's pretty heavy right now. We're expecting there to be some flooding because there's a king's tide here in Charleston tonight, along with when the hurricane is kind of supposed to hit. So that is really bad news if you live in a low line. Obviously, they don't call it the low country for nothing, because there is a lot of low-lying areas here. Thank goodness my house, in general, over the years, I've been living here in my Mount Pleasant home for, since 1998. So we're going on 25 years now. And we have, thank God, not been too affected by flooding here in our neighborhood. But Maurice Drayton said that would not deter them from practicing. They're going to practice today in the elements. He thinks that's it'll help them, get them going. I'm a little bit surprised that they were going to still practice this afternoon, not go into, say, McAllister Fieldhouse or something else. But on Monday, he said that they were going to embrace the elements. That was his quote. And talking about what Tommy said, I was shocked that Maurice Drayton came out the way he did in Monday's press conference. I mean, he's a brand new coach, first game of his career as a head coach at the Citadel. And he does not pull any punches. He just says, we are and I'm quoting, a poor football team right now. He said that they had been making steady progression from the beginning of camp to about when classes started last Tuesday. But since the classes had started, they had not practiced particularly well. In fact, he thought they'd taken a step or two back, and he was very discouraged by that. And I along with you guys, was surprised he said it, but it's such a breath of fresh air that he actually came out and kind of, told the truth and what he was really feeling. I think that's in this day and age, that's very refreshing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I saw was the reaction that I believe was shared on social media was nobody's ever seen a coach come out before the season even starts and essentially, I would almost say, throw your team under the bus. It kind of had that effect, to me at least, Andrew.
I would say, I'd say he threw him under the bus over him a couple of times. I mean, that was, I don't think it was a ploy. I don't think it was a way to get the guys, fired up or motivate them or whatever. I think he really thinks that they had pretty poor practices there. So that was, again, surprising. Most coaches wouldn't say that. They'd just say they're excited about playing in the game and the season opener, getting the season started, blah, blah, blah. But he did not pull any punches, man. He just he did not think they were performing up to their standards. And one thing I've noticed about Maurice, one is he does tell the truth all the time. He doesn't hold any, he doesn't pull his punches. And the other thing is he's really attention to detail. That has been one of the things that I really noticed about what he has done since he's gotten here. The small details he figures in the grand scheme will add up to the team improving, making that steady improvement. And again, I think we're going to have to be a little bit patient with this team, especially on the offensive side of the football. They don't have the personnel they want there right just yet. They're playing with kind of a hand they are dealt. And I think it's going to take them a couple of recruiting cycles to kind of get the guys in that they want. They will throw the ball more this year. They're going to be in shotgun most of the year. But people have to. But there's still going to be lots of triple option elements to it. People just have to be patient with this offense.
All right, you started talking about that hurricane coming into the Low Country, and Andrew, I could be wrong, but we lost you there. But I think you just made an adjustment. Did the hurricane knock your power out?
No. But they're heavy rain. There's a rain band coming through right now.
Okay.
So I opened up some blinds.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that. As we said at the start of the show, This is our 16th year of doing Citadel GrayLine. 2008, back when Tommy Scruggs was hanging out in his diapers, and we have never had a Citadel GrayLine with a hurricane passing by. So, Andrew, you're helping us make history today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And I know you've got the fort positioned well there in the Midlands of South Carolina today, Tommy, so you keep the flooding away from Columbia, okay?
We'll do our best, John.
All right. By the way, nice shirt.
Thank you, sir. At least one of us is wearing our Bulldog gear.
Well, I'm just preparing for a color change or something like that. Now, I like my Spike logo you're wearing there, the throwback Spike logo. And we are talking about the Bulldogs and Georgia Southern, so we've got questions with this Bulldog football team in terms of quarterback. What about the other offensive positions? Are there as many questions for Maurice Drayton and the other brand? I mean, we got some new faces, not just on the football team, but on the coaching staffs with this coaching regime change. What else can you tell us about is it going to be the A-backs and B-backs in the Drayton era on Moultrie Street?
No, I don't think so. I think what I've seen from the first two scrimmages, again, didn't see the quarterback go under center, I don't think, one time for a single snap. I saw a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets with a single running back. Guys were still going in motion, like they had before. But again, there's going to be a little bit more passing, which I think you have to do now because of some of the blocking rules that have been in place on the perimeter where you can't cut block guys. And that was really pretty effective for the Citadel over the years. But don't think this is not going to be a running football team. This is going to be a running football team that's going to rely on the triple option. They need a mobile quarterback. Dustin Fletcher has good speed. He probably runs a little too straight up and down for my liking for a guy who runs the option. But when he came out of high school out of Flint, Michigan, he was the top-rated quarterback in the state of Michigan that year. 3-star prospect. You could tell he's got very good passing acumen. I just don't think right now he's not used to running the triple option. He's used to running kind of the spread option, like a lot of high schools do now. But I tell you what, in this last scrimmage, the second scrimmage that I watched at Johnson-Haygood Stadium, there's no doubt Grayson Underwood had a much better scrimmage than Dustin Fletcher did. He was very sharp with his throwing. I thought he made really good reads. He was able to make a couple of decent runs as well. I think he's a little bit more comfortable running the triple option than Dustin Fletcher is, mainly because he's been in that system for a couple of 3 years now. So I think he's gotten used to it. The only thing that I thought about Grayson from last year and this year is that he's just not very consistent with his accuracy throwing the football. He was very accurate in that second scrimmage. I thought he did a great job, and I think that's what kind of changed a lot of people's minds. Because after the first scrimmage, I thought Dustin Fletcher had really kind of nailed down the job, but he did not play well in the second scrimmage, and then Grayson played much better. I think offensively, at running back, you're going to see a lot of Cooper Wallace. Johnny Crawford III I think is going to be his main backup, and then Hayden Johnson will be the third running back in the mix. There's a new guy on campus. He's actually a Campbell transfer out at wide receiver. Durgon, he's from Moncks Corner. He actually played at Berkeley High School. That's where Maurice Drayton graduated from. He's very tall, very lean. He can they fill a couple of long balls down the sidelines. Made a couple of really nice adjustments on the ball to make some nice catches. I think he's going to be a a defect for the Bulldogs this year.
Talking with Andrew Miller again of the Charleston Post and Courier. This is our program that we do each and every week now through the end of football season. This is Citadel GrayLine. Again, welcome back to all of our longtime viewers and listeners. A lot of people get this thing in iTunes, courtesy of the iTunes podcast app. So thank you for that. I just noticed on our Facebook feed we had a comment come in from old scrappy Kiefer Ingalls who said, season 16, let's go, of Citadel GrayLine. So Kiefer, thank you for helping us out by tuning in to Citadel GrayLine. So you mentioned the newcomer, the carpetbagger, Dustin Fletcher. Now, I give that title to those guys who come down to the Citadel in the last couple of years and take advantage of the graduate transfer where they come in, they're one and dones and all that. Andrew, Dustin Fletcher is listed, at least on the roster, as a sophomore, the Northern Illinois transfer. So because of that, he's not a graduate. Does this mean he's actually going through knob year and he's a cadet here at the Citadel?
Now, he actually, if you meet Dustin, you will be very impressed with him. He's a very impressive young man, really smart, very media savvy, as I would call him. He graduated in 2.5 years from Northern Illinois, so he actually he's got a degree. He's working on his MBA, and I think he's going to try to get maybe 2 MBAs out of the Citadel. So 2 postgraduate degrees, out of the Citadel. So he is a graduate, and again, very nice young man. Coaching staff speaks very highly of him. Wanted to know more about the military and what the cadets go through. So he kind of dove in deep that first year, the first week that everyone was kind of on campus. So I think if you meet him, you'll be very impressed. A really impressive young man.
All right. Well, again, according to the official roster on CitadelSports.com, they got him listed as a sophomore. And I bring that up because I noticed at the presser this week, the longtime guy that used to introduce Coach Thompson, at least, was not there. That would be John. Has there been a change with the SID at the Citadel?
Yes, there has. John Brush has moved on. He and his wife adopted a baby girl, and I can't remember her name, so excuse me for that. They adopted a baby girl back in July, and knowing that, as a sports information director, you're going to work a lot of long hours there. He wanted to have a better life, a family balanced life, and decided to take a job with Berkeley Co-op, one of the Santee Cooper. I apologize. One of the electrical companies out here in the Low Country. So good for him. Hate it for the. For me personally, I got along really well with John. He did a great job, but happy for him and his new family, and totally understand his decision to kind of move on.
Okay, family first here, and so congratulations to the Brushes and their new addition. But I did notice that in the presser. I actually tried to show that clip today on the program of Maurice Drayton, not necessarily praising his football team, but technical wise weren't able to figure that out before airtime. But hopefully we'll start having clips of plays and all that like we've done before on future Citadel GrayLine. So anything defensively, Andrew, that we need to know going into this opener with Georgia Southern?
Well, Raleigh Jackson, he's the new defensive coordinator. Obviously, he played at the Citadel. His dad was a longtime football coach at Burke High School. So obviously, his connections to the Low Country, to the Citadel, and to the city of Charleston are extremely strong. Not a whole lot changed. I mean, they did go from a 3-4 now to kind of a 4-2-5. Kind of utilizing that extra safety for making plays in space. He has been incredibly pleased with the linebacker play led by Hassan Black, who's really kind of stepped up and taken over a leadership role for this defensive team and really for the entire team itself. So won the extra down lineman, but from talking to Hassan and the other linebackers and guys that are putting their hand on the ground, not a whole lot has changed. He's really happy with so far with the front six that they got, and likes a couple of the guys that they got in the secondary, although I did hear the other day that Hendricks, the defensive back that missed last year, Wilson Hendricks III, missed it, blew out his ACL, among other things. I heard he re-injured his knee. I don't know if it's the same knee. I'm trying to nail that down, but that would be a big blow to that secondary because when Hendricks was available and playing, he played at a really high level 2 seasons ago. So hopefully he's going to be okay. He's going to be back in the lineup, but was not good news from what I heard earlier this week.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, you can check out Andrew's work in the Post and Courier, and your social media handle, Andrew, is?
AP Miller on Twitter, or X, I guess that's what we call it now, is AP Miller _ PNC. Or at, yep. I'm sorry, at AP Miller _ PNC.
All right. He's my ex, Andrew Miller. All right, Tommy boy, how you doing, sir? I know you've got some questions for Andrew. Fire away.
Yeah, so I guess, Andrew, thinking about this quarterback from Northern Illinois, do you know the backstory of how he ended up down at El Cid?
Well, that's actually an interesting story. He obviously graduated. He was their second, third string quarterback. Came out again out of high school with a lot of hype. Played his freshman year at Northern Illinois and had a couple of decent games. Mainly showed that he enacted him for being able to run the football. I think he had 95 yards in one game. So then he redshirted his next year because they brought in the Michigan State, whose quarterback, his name has now escaped me, but he's still there at Northern Illinois. So obviously Dustin figured that if he wanted to get playing time, he was going to have to look elsewhere. And I know that the Citadel was looking at the quarterback at Harvard because he transferred, but some things ended up happening that he ended up going to Western Carolina instead of the Citadel. He had originally kind of committed to the Citadel, the quarterback from Harvard, but ended up going to Western Carolina. And my understanding was that there was some, because he was, again, another graduate student, there was some financial issues as far as what the scholarship offered him, where he could afford to stay. So basically the scholarship money that he'd get from the Citadel wasn't enough for him to live anywhere near campus, which I will say is going to be a story that I'm going to write for in the next weeks, because that's evidently happened a couple of times, not only for football players, but for basketball players as well. So guys that are coming in that can't find a place to live because the scholarships don't cover the total cost for what they can afford to live. So Dustin came down for a visit, really liked it here, liked the coaching staff. And again, if you meet him in person, very impressive young man, very sharp guy, really good arm, very accurate passer. I just think it's going to take him a couple of games, maybe some live hits to get him really settled down into this offense, because it is a little bit different from what he was running up in Northern Illinois and what he ran in high school.
So let me ask you, Andrew, with a new coaching staff, new offense, current personnel, is this going to be a season where the defense keeps us in games?
Yes. The offense, obviously, at times last year was not great. I don't see it improving hugely this year. Now, I could be wrong, and I hope I am. One of those stories that I wrote earlier in the season was about running backs, or last week. And Cooper, great 3-down back. I mean, the guy has been in this offense, or in the option style offense for 3 seasons now. He's really good at pass protection. He's got a good burst of speed, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. And when the Citadel has been successful, at least when I have, covered these teams, they've had an Everett Sands, they've had a Travis Gervais, they've had a Nehemiah Broughton, somebody like that who was big and powerful, who could run the ball 20, 25 times a game. And that's the kind of guy that I think they're looking for. Now, when Pat Covington, the offensive coordinator, was at Coastal Carolina, he had a guy named D'Angelo Henderson as his primary back. And D'Angelo Henderson's a Somerville High School grad. Went on to play in the NFL for a season or two with the Denver Broncos. Now, he was about 5'8" and about 205, 210 pounds, really solidly put together. And even that kind of running back is the kind of guy that Pat Covington looks for. An elite guy, who's either big, or he can make guys miss, or he has top end speed. If he's got one of those three qualities, then Pat Covington wants that guy. And right now they kind of lack that feature back right now. And not to say that Cooper Wallace won't do a good job. I'm sure he'll do a great job, but it's just he's not the biggest guy in the world, and I don't know that he can carry the ball 20, 25 times. But defensively, again, I think I haven't heard anything from Raleigh and from Maurice Drayton. I think they're pretty happy with the progress of the defense, at least up until Monday's press conference they had been. I don't know if anything has changed since then, but yeah, I think the defense is going to have to be, pretty stout to keep them in games for sure.
Well, John, I think I speak for a lot of alumni when I say we're going to be very patient with Coach Drayton. We've got our guy. Of course, matter of fact, when Brett Thompson was hired, a lot of the alumni wanted Coach Drayton. So this is going to be a patient bunch.
I hope so, because to me, Maurice checks all the boxes. He was Citadel grad. He grew up in the Low Country. He loved the school. And I don't know if you guys read my story that I think was in today's print edition, but he turned down $5 million from the NFL. That was a 4-year contract worth about $5 million at the end of the day, and it was guaranteed. So whether he coached a day or not, he signed his name on that contract. That's $5 million. That's family generational money. It is 4 times what he's getting at the Citadel, and he turned it down because his love of the school, and he made a commitment not only to the administration and to the fans, but he made a commitment to these players. So he is all in, and I think that speaks to the character of Maurice Drayton.
Yeah, Andrew, I can say that excellent article, is being shared far and wide on all Citadel social media pages.
Thank you.
Andrew, we wanted to ask, as we are glad that Maurice Drayton, the class of 98, I believe is what he is.
Yeah.
He's leading the program now, and this week in his press conference, he used a word probably not too many coaches in recent times have said at the Citadel. He mentioned the word duty uniform. And so, as a proud guy that wore the duty uniform for about 4 years, pretty neat to hear that coming from the coach of the head coach of the Citadel. Again, he is an alum. We've got an alum coach in the basketball team. We got an alum coach in the baseball team. So, from an alumni standpoint,
I think
doing good.
I was going to say, I think that's the first time that's happened. At least the first time in the 35 years I've been at the Citadel that you've had 3 alum in your 3 major men's sports all be alum, which I think is good.
And I don't want to let the dog out of the bag here, Andrew, but in your article about Maurice Drayton turning down an offer to go be a coordinator in the NFL, does it mention the team or teams that he had that offer from?
I think I could say it now. It was the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. So
the coach there now, whose name escapes me, I had it on the tip of my tongue 2 seconds ago. He and Maurice had a pretty long relationship, and the fact that he was going to let him, have a voice in the draft picks, and then to be able to dress the guys that he wanted to dress at the, you have a 55-man roster in the NFL, but only 48 guys dress each game. So those last 5 or 6 guys are normally special teams guys, and some head coaches won't let the special teams coordinator pick those guys who he wants to play that week. But this coach was going to give him that responsibility. And Maurice said, when you're, as far as standards go, that is that he was going to get everything that he ever, and not a lot of special teams coordinators in the NFL have those kind of responsibilities and power, for lack of a better word.
And a neat aspect also brought out in Monday's presser with Coach Drayton was that he said, because of his what was it, ended up being 6 years or so of NFL experience as a special teams guy for the most part, that he learned how to plan out and do operations. And so when they talked about some of the logistics of a game this week that perhaps might get shifted around because of Hurricane Idalia, for Maurice Drayton, wasn't a big deal.
Now and again, he said that they were going to practice today. Like right now, I'm just looking out my window here. The rain is coming down pretty hard, and I think as long as there's not a tornado coming or there's lightning, I think they're going to be practicing outdoors this afternoon. So, and I think that'll help. I mean, from every forecast that I've seen, it's going to be a beautiful day in Statesboro come Saturday.
Yeah. Well, again, the Bulldogs and Georgia Southern, that is the opening game for brand new coach Maurice Drayton, as he's coaching his first game, as far as I know, ever. And so we're excited about that. I will point out, though, as we have a moment here on Citadel GrayLine, which is powered in part by IPS Packaging. IPS Packaging is a name that you can trust. Since 1976, IPS Packaging and Automation has been providing manufacturers and e-commerce companies with the very best packaging products and automation in the entire industry. IPS Packaging offers a complete line of packaging products like stretch films and 3M tapes, as well as corrugated boxes, strapping, and equipment automation. IPS Packaging and Automation, based in Fountain Inn, SC. They will analyze and streamline your current methods to improve your packaging process. And trust me, I ship a lot of stuff out. I need to be calling, just like you do, IPS Packaging and get them to streamline and save you some money. Call them up, 800-277-7007. That's 800-277-7007 for IPS Packaging. And if you call them up, this Citadel-led company will help you out. You can learn a lot more. You can also go to IPS Packaging's website, ipack.com. That's IPACK.com. IPS Packaging and Automation, a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. Now, not only is Maurice Drayton a blast from the past leading this Bulldog football team, if you look at the coaching staff for the Citadel, there's several grads on the coaching staff, and then you also have people like Danny Lewis, someone I know, who's back. He was once there in the mighty John Zernhelt era of Citadel football, and then he stuck around for a few years with Kevin Higgins. But you've got Danny Lewis back, and you've got a lot of other faces as Everett Sands, class of 93, never lost a yard while rushing for the Citadel. A lot of experienced coaches are alongside Maurice Drayton for this 2023 football team.
Yeah, they sure are. The coaching staff definitely has a Citadel flavor to it. Absolutely no question about that. Love to see Everett Sands. I tell people this all the time. The first desktop computer that I ever bought, I actually bought from Everett Sands. It was a great computer. I had it for about 3 or 4 years. We always joke about that. And then Raleigh Jackson, obviously, he went there, played there. So definitely a Citadel flavor. One of the things I was going to point out, and you mentioned it earlier about Maurice Drayton's connection to the NFL. I know it's a little bit off subject, but another article I wrote a couple weeks ago was about how his connection to the NFL, Daniel Jones, who's the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, was here in the Low Country kind of on vacation, reached out to Maurice Drayton and asked if he might be able to get some of his receivers to go work out. And so for a week, Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, was throwing passes to Tyler Cherry and Dervon Presnell and the entire kind of receiving corps. There are like 8 or 9 guys out there. And what other FCS schools do you have that opportunity to actually work out with not only a starting quarterback in the NFL, but one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks maybe on the entire planet? So really cool there that Maurice Drayton has got these connections to the NFL, and trust me, the players noticed that, and they were very appreciative that they were able to get to work out with him.
Pretty good story, Thomas?
Yep.
Great story.
I was not aware of that. That's why y'all need to pick up a copy of the Post and Courier and postandcourier.com, where you can get this kind of in-depth stuff that you can't get. By the way, Andrew, before we get out of here today, I know a hurricane's outside your window, but you're just going to have to put that on hold, because before we get out of here, a tradition that we usually do on the first show of the year is to get our Citadel Bulldog beat writer to give his projection of just how good Citadel football is going to be in 2023. I don't want it now, But before we get out of here, Thomas and I are going to hold you over the flame, and you're going to have to tell all about what your projection is for this football team. Is that a problem? Is that a hard ask?
Nope.
All right. Great. Let's talk about this schedule. So you got the opener at Georgia Southern. Hey, I like the fact that Georgia Southern did something that maybe some schools were scared to do. They brought up a guy that I thought was a pretty good coach of the Southern Cal Trojans and gave him a second chance at coaching. Clay Helton, the former Auburn quarterback, guiding this program. And I think Maurice Drayton even hinted that he knows him or something like that. But this is not an easy game. Of course, they're a Sun Belt Conference member. But your thoughts on Georgia Southern this week?
Me or Tommy?
That would be you, Andrew. I don't care what Thomas says.
Okay. The way Maurice Drayton talked about them is kind of the Georgia Southern teams that I remember when I was covering the team back in the mid-'90s. Very fast, very athletic, very long. So they kind of cut down on the space that the Citadel is going to be operating in because they're so fast and they're so long. And that's going to be an issue, again, when you're trying to install a new offense and you're facing live blitz for the first time. Now, Georgia Southern isn't the Georgia Southern team as far as just the dominant FCS program that they've been in the past. They've had some good teams in the Sun Belt when they've moved up to Division I, but they're not the dominant team, obviously, in that conference that they've been in when they were in the Southern Conference back when I was covering this team. They've also had they got to revamp their entire offense pretty much from what they did last year. They lost some guys. They're installing a little bit of they're tweaking their offense a little bit. From what I've been told, they brought in a new offensive coordinator, so they're trying to figure out, what this guy ran at another school and then tune that into the personnel that the Georgia Southern has right now. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a night game. The Statesville, Georgia, that's a tough place to play no matter who you are or what team is going in there. They're going to have an electric atmosphere. I'm hoping things going to go the Citadel's way here a little bit, and they just keep it close, to be honest with you. It's so hard to tell about where this offense is because during the scrimmages that I've seen, they were running a lot of the base defense. So they didn't see a lot of different looks defensively. Raleigh Jackson didn't blitz as much as I think that he would like to or normally would want to. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. But again, I'm hoping that there's going to be a maturation process and that the team's going to get better and better as the season goes on. I think it's just a really tough game to open up the season with on the road against an opponent like that.
Thomas, your opinion does matter, so go ahead. I feel bad.
Well, thank you, John. That's a tall ask on the first game of the season. New coaching staff, new offense. I'm like, I agree. I think we'd be happy with a close score or a respectable score.
I just hope that my dreams come true again. Well, they actually haven't come true the first time. Thomas, you spent some time along the Ashley. Do you often dream about the Citadel?
I have nightmares that I'm. It's what, Hell Week again at the Citadel? Yeah, and I'm this age, and all I can think is I'm going to have a heart attack. There's no way I can do all this.
Well, I don't have them every night, but every now and then I have dreams about the Citadel, and it's not always dreams about me being there. It could be more modern things. And I had a dream just the other night, Thomas and Andrew, and I hope this dream comes true one day. And if it doesn't come true, at least part of it could come true this weekend at Georgia Southern. I had a dream the other day that the Oklahoma Sooners came to Charleston and played the Citadel, and the Citadel ran the opening kick for a touchdown, and then I woke up. So I don't know how the game turned out, but can we make that dream come true?
That's a tough ask, I think.
I mean, I don't know why we choose the dreams or how they pop up, but that was very vivid and colorful. I love dreaming about Citadel stuff usually, and that was a great dream, especially since the scoreboard was 7-0 Bulldogs over the Sooners, and then something woke me up. So, but it's a Georgia Southern Citadel game, and maybe that dream will come true and be a happy reality for Bulldog fans if the shocker comes in. Not Statesville. Andrew, I heard you say Statesville. I don't want you showing up to the wrong Georgia town this weekend. Yep. Statesboro. And I know you've been there, I think. So,
yeah, several times.
Georgia's a big state. I'd hate for you to end up on the north side of the state this week looking for this football game. But that's going on this weekend. Then, the home opener. I'm going to quickly go through the schedule, and then Andrew and Thomas, if y'all want to weigh in. You got Campbell coming in for the home opener, and the Bulldogs played Campbell and got destroyed there last year. Chattanooga, a game there in Finley Stadium in the scenic city of Chattanooga, Kiefer country. You've got that game going on as the SoCon opener before the month of September wraps. Another road game in Orangeburg. First time the Citadel has ever played South Carolina State in Orangeburg. Orangeburg, a common destination for Citadel football teams in the past when they'd go play teams like, the South Carolina Gamecocks in Orangeburg at the old Orangeburg County Fair. Western Carolina comes to Charleston at the end of September. Then when you move into October, games at Furman. The Silver Shako will be battled in mid-October. VMI comes to Johnson-Haygood. Then a road trip to Homewood as the SoCon defending champs, Samford, await. Samford has a who do they play? They got a win last week against North Alabama, so the Bulldogs doing quite well there. Mercer, they've got a game at Ole Miss this week. Mercer will be coming to Charleston for a game in early November, which is homecoming, by the way. Wofford is the opponent, the final home game of the year, mid-October, or rather November, and then the finale of the year is in Johnson City where ETSU awaits. That's your schedule. I'm going to get Andrew's take on the wins and losses, but before we get to that, what do you think about that schedule and how it shakes out for Maurice Drayton, Andrew?
It's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule for a first-year coach. I understand that the Citadel has to play those money games every single year. Just a tough way to open up your career as a head coach at the Citadel on the road in Statesboro, Georgia, against Georgia Southern. And then turning around and having Campbell come to your place in the home opener. Again, a team that's very athletic, a team that, you're right, just kind of steamrolled the Citadel last year. I was very impressed, especially offensively, with what Campbell was able to do. And defensively, I thought they were very fast, swarming around the football. And I think as we move on, there are games at SC State. You know, if I was Maurice Drayton or at least Mike Capaccio, the athletic director at the Citadel, I'd have had one kind of game that you knew you could win. I don't know if that's good PC or some Division II or Division III school, but
Oklahoma's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, one gimme that you could have gotten, but he didn't do that. So I think this is a tough schedule for Maurice Drayton. But I think my prediction is that they're going to win 3 or 4 games.
So you're already giving us our total for the year, 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah, I think they win at SC State after what I watched against Jackson State, and I think VMI and Wofford are definitely winnable games as well, because both of those programs are welcoming in new coaches, even though Watson, the coach at Wofford, was there at the end of last year.
Thomas, can you do better than 3 or 4 wins?
I think Coach Drayton is going to pull a Shane Beamer and get 5 wins his first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So no bowl game.
Staff's going to figure out a way. So I'm going to go in optimistic. I say we finish 5 and 6 this year.
5 and 6.
I think we need to have a little wager. I think we need a little wager here too. And the guy that thinks Oklahoma is coming to Johnson-Haygood Stadium can't be involved in this wager.
I said it was a dream. Okay. But we got Boston College coming for basketball. I mean, dreams can come true.
Well, and also, John, I'm going to say I do believe November the 4th. That's your 30th homecoming, right? So it's the Jarrett's Hall reunion for Jon Rawl in Charleston.
Thank you. Yours is soon to follow, so zip it up there. And with that, let me remind y'all about Citadel GrayLine and some of our great partners here. And we got some new partners. Not only do we have IPS packaging up this program each and every week that we're on, we have a few new sponsors: Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, Daybreak Adult Care Service, and Pedigo Electric Bikes, which has 2 locations in South Carolina, in Aiken and Soda City location, which is West Columbia, South Carolina. Thomas, tell me about some of these new folks.
Absolutely. So let's start off with Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. That is owned by Mr. Josh Daniels, class of 1994. Josh is a good friend of mine. And Franklin basically will take care of your plumbing needs, plumbing repair all over the Midlands. All of our plumbing work at our house, I will say, our first and only call is always to Franklin. They're outstanding. Also, Daybreak, Coker Dave. Coker founded that in 2001. He's my classmate from the Citadel, class 95. Coker, actually Daybreak, it's an in-home care service for senior citizens here in the Midlands that really want to maintain their independence. So they've been around for quite a while. And then Pedigo, my wife and I, actually when another company or franchise owned by Coker, like you said, one in Aiken, one in Columbia. So one weekend, my wife and I went right after Coker opened the West Columbia store. It's right near the Congaree River, the Riverwalk there downtown, and we had a blast. So definitely go visit Coker.
All right. Those great sponsors, and of course, y'all.com. I know a little bit about that. It helps present this show. You can email us here at citadel@y'all.com anytime if you've got a question throughout the week. We are happy to take that. You also can text us anytime at 843-779-8496. That's the way to reach us here at Citadel GrayLine. But again, thank you to IPS Packaging, to Franklin Plumbing and Drain Services, Daybreak Adult Care Service, and Pedigo Electric Bikes, which have locations in Aiken and in the West Columbia area, a.k.a. the Soda City location. All right, Thomas, I appreciate you helping with all the great sponsors that we've been able to bring on, some new ones, and we want to remind you that there are spots available. We're going to be doing this show for months, so if you would like to include your company in on the fun of Citadel GrayLine, hey, we want to hear from you here at the GrayLine, and the way to do that is to reach out to us during the week at that number 843-779-8496, or if you would rather catch us via the email option, you can do that as well, and that is citadel@y'all.com. But again, we've got some sponsorship opportunities still available, and we want to rock this thing out. 16 years of doing this program, and we couldn't have done it without our great listeners and our viewers, but boy, our sponsors help, because this show costs money to do, frankly, and it's a privilege to do, but we like to not lose money if we could all help it. So thank you to our existing sponsors, and would love to talk to you if you're interested. We would love to help grow your company and share this message, which we have thousands of people each and every week that have an opportunity to catch up with Citadel Sports courtesy of our program, Citadel GrayLine. So, Thomas, good job there over these 9 months that we've been off and helping line up some new sponsors.
Thank you, sir. Glad to do it.
I think the Citadel term would be OPD, Outstanding Performance of Duty, although I want to hold that one back. Let's get a couple of more before I give you that title.
Duly noted, John.
All right, thank you. Let's bring Andrew back on to the comedy show here today. And, Andrew, I want to, before we get out of here with you, let's talk a little about the SoCon, your expectations, what you are seeing. Sanford, your defending champion of the Southern Conference. We also know Mercer stepped up their game. They already got a win on their schedule after they beat UNA this past weekend. A Chattanooga team that's improved. You've got some coaching changes. You mentioned at Furman, not at Furman, at Wofford. And so what's going on with the SoCon that you can report here to us?
Well, I think the team to beat is going to be Furman. Coming off a 10-3 season last year, they went to the FCS playoffs. They won a game in the FCS playoffs. They've got 20 returning starters, which is a lot, including, I think I counted them up, and I think there were 11 guys on this all SoCon preseason first and second team. So they've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of depth in their lineup, and I think they're going to be the team to beat. Obviously, Samford, they got the preseason player of the year coming back at quarterback. He did a great job last year. He played against the Citadel at home last year. I remember being super impressed with him, able to get the ball out very quickly. They kind of run that air raid offense down there. I think those are going to be kind of the two teams to beat, and then I think they're just going to be, the ETSU, Chattanooga, all those Mercers in the middle. I think Mercer actually ranked. I think they're probably pretty secure at the number 3 spot in the Southern Conference, and then kind of after that, it's just going to be kind of a group of teams that are kind of battling for that middle of the SoCon pack. And obviously, if Thomas is right and the Citadel win 5 games, they're going to be in that mix among those teams. So I think Furman, definitely the team to beat. I think Samford second, and then Mercer third. That's how I would kind of rate the Southern Conference right now.
Andrew, why did you give Furman the nod over Samford?
I just think because of the total number of returning starters that they had last year. Again, they were a team that played at Johnson-Hagood Stadium, really impressed with the way they ran offensively. They've also got a dominant running back at Dominic Roberto. He's kind of the preseason running back, first-team running back of the year. So I think they're a very versatile offensive team. And defensively, I think they're very solid. They got a really good secondary. They got 2 guys on their secondary that were second-team all preseason SoCon picks, and then a linebacker and a defensive lineman, I believe, that were either first or second team. So at all 3 levels of their defense, they got all SoCon picks there. I just think they're veteran players that have been there. They know it. They're also hungry. One of the things that they talked about in Greenville during the preseason media day back in July was that they didn't win anything last year. Yeah, they won 10 games. Yeah, they went to the FCS playoffs, but they didn't win a SoCon championship. And they didn't win the last game of the year. So they haven't won anything. So I think that's a hungry team right there. And I just like the way that they're made up.
They would be hungry there in Paladin country for the conference rival of the Citadel, the historic rival, the Furman Paladins. Andrew, we want to get a quick report from you. I know we've got a long show today. We typically won't be quite this long, but we've had a lot of catching up to do after being off the air for 9 months. We're going to get your take on anything else Citadel sports before we get out of here in a minute. But we want to let people know that you can actually win something here on Citadel GrayLine each and every week. We have Knob Knowledge, and that's presented by Daybreak Adult Care Services. And this is a great opportunity for you to text us an answer, if you've got it, of the question that will be asked each and every week. So we've got Knob Knowledge for week 1 of season 16. That number again to text 843-779-8496. And we go to Cadet General Scruggs for this week's Knob Knowledge question.
Okay, John, for all the history buffs out there, what Confederate general and governor of South Carolina led the charge to reopen the South Carolina Military Academy in 1882, which was about 17 years of occupation by the U.S. Army? Who name that Confederate general and governor of South Carolina?
I think I know it, but I can't win, I don't think. But I would love to.
It's very appropriate to be discussing Citadel athletics.
I thought that might be where you're going, yes. So, again, if you want to take a stab at this important figure in Citadel history, it sounds like, you can text your answer for Knob Knowledge. You just text us and we will get you a Citadel GrayLine prize pack out to you. 843-779-8496 is the way to reach us here with your correct answer. The first correct answer is our winner. 843-779-8496, the number to call if you can answer Thomas's knob knowledge question of the day. I am excited to have that back here on the show. I'm also excited to kind of get things wrapped up here for this week 1 of Citadel GrayLine, as we've got Georgia Southern, and then we've got the home opener coming up against the Fighting Camels, and we'll break that game down on our week 2 edition of Citadel GrayLine. But Andrew, before we let you get to hurricane matters there in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, tell me about other sports happenings, anything else, the gossip going on at 171 Moultrie Street.
Well, there is one interesting thing that happened. Cameron Wells, I don't know if you guys remember him back in the Citadel basketball days, but he has joined Ed Conroy on his staff for this year. And Cameron Wells was a part of those teams that beat the College of Charleston 3 out of 4 years in the 2000s, and I guess I can't really 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. I could be off by a couple of years here and there, but he has joined the Citadel basketball coaching staff. Great guy. I think he's going to bring a lot to that program. And I tell you what, Ed Conroy is going to – I think that team's going to take another step this year. They've brought in some really good, really athletic freshmen, and then they got a couple of grad transfers, which I know you guys don't like, but I think they're going to help them out quite a bit as well.
Oh, Thomas loves it.
Yeah, I do.
Thomas
likes winning.
What about the baseball team? Last year was a terrible season, another terrible season for baseball, and I thought there was a chance there could be a coaching change. That evidently didn't happen.
Nope. Tony Skoll going to be back for another year. Got his contract extended by a year. So, yeah, probably not the played better, I thought, as the season went on. Had some pretty good pitching, but just couldn't win those close games. But yeah, Tony's going to be around. I hope that Tony's one of the best human beings I've met at the Citadel since I've been covering this team on and off for the last 20 years. So I hope that the team does really well because he's a good guy, he's a good coach, and I hope that the Bulldogs do well this year.
And my commentary on the baseball team was purely based on the record, because right. I know Tony Skoll is arguably one of the greatest figures in Citadel history, both a football team captain in 1991 and for the 1990 team, I guess he's class of 91, and a baseball guy that helped lead the baseball team to the College World Series and now been baseball coach for a number of years. Salt of the earth kind of guy. But we just got to get some wins going in that program. We got to get some wins going in all of them. I'm pretty sure, based on the win totals, Andrew, the Citadel is the worst team. If you look at baseball, basketball, football, I would say the three major sports, we got to be the worst team in the SoCon, I think.
Maybe. I think VMI would be behind you, but yeah.
They're neck and neck.
Neck and neck. There you go.
We got to change that. Because, Pat Conroy once joked about Military Elimination Day at the SoCon basketball tournament, which I think the Citadel actually won their opening game this past year.
Well, yeah, they beat VMI. I know they lost to VMI up at VMI, but I think they beat VMI here.
Something like that. That's years ago, it seems.
Yeah.
But we will keep you abreast of all the great things going on with Citadel Sports right here each and every week. Again, we'll be on through sometime in mid to late November is when we will be signing off for the year. Thomas, I know you also keep your eye on not only athletics but other goings on. Anything catch your eye over the last few months from a school standpoint? I know they got a brand new bond hall that's opened up on campus and things like that.
Yeah, so my class, the class of 95, actually donated the money for the new atrium there at Capers Hall. And so seeing the pictures, it's incredible. Definitely want to go down there. I think it's the week of the Mercer game, maybe that dedication ceremony. So,
I see.
Actually, excuse me, I stand corrected. That's Campbell, the Campbell game. I believe it's dedication. So,
and I do believe Thomas Scruggs, class of 95, is calling out every other class, and even Andrew here, that we're not stepping up, giving enough money. It sounds like.
Hey, that's exactly what I'm doing, John.
Shaming us to give to the school. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I haven't been to campus now that Bond Hall has completed construction of the signature building, academic building at least, on the campus, and so much needed improvements, and that's exciting to see when we are able to get back to Sid. Anything else going on that we need to know about, Tommy?
Other than Capers, no. There are plans for a new engineering building. You know, most people don't know this, but the Citadel has the 5th oldest engineering program in the country. So there are.
Sounds like a great article, Andrew.
That's going to be a major project here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, Andrew needs to start working on his engineering articles.
There you go.
Well,
That's just general news, John.
Okay, well, that's all good. And again, I do have, going back, one thing. I've been looking at headlines, and I haven't seen anything. But we got, as we wrap up here, going back to sports for just a second, 2 guys that have done pretty well in the NFL in the last year or two. And I want to get an update about Andre Roberts. I kept watching to see if he was going to get picked up. Has he officially retired, Andrew? Do you know?
I don't. I noticed that as well, that he hadn't been picked up yet. Jeff Hartzell's really the guy to get the Andre Roberts stuff, and I will reach out to him, and I will update you next week on that.
All right. What about Raleigh Webb? Did he end up making a 53-man roster?
I thought he did.
Wasn't it the Patriots? Didn't the Patriots?
That's who he's been with.
Yeah. I thought that he had made their final cut. Although, you know what? The final cut hasn't come out yet. I take that back.
I thought it came out
until. I thought the cuts came out next Monday.
Okay.
Or Tuesday.
All right. Well, Belichick, you better not cut him, because Raleigh Webb is one of our own. So, and I don't know of any other Citadel alums out there on rosters are fighting for spots right now.
Now, somebody with Tampa Bay.
Who?
Tampa Bay, defensive back, D. Delaney.
Oh, D. Delaney. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was like a mid-season move last year where he got an opportunity to get on with the Bucks. So,
and he's still there.
Good. That's outstanding. All right. Well, Andre Roberts, if his career has ended, what a career he's had there for various NFL teams. If I had an opportunity one day to look at his helmet collection, he's got about half the NFL teams that he's played for at some point. So pretty impressive. But his only college team was your Citadel Bulldogs. How about that? Well, gentlemen, it's been a great ride here as our first show has wrapped up. Citadel GrayLine. Again, I want to thank our great presentation, our sponsors who helped present this, IPS Packaging, Franklin Plumbing and Drains Cleaning in the Columbia area. You got Daybreak Adult Care Services, Pedigo Electric Bikes, Coker Days Company that's got locations in Aiken and in Soda City. That would be West Columbia area. And then y'all.com, the South's homepage. And I'm sure you're tired of hearing about me, but if you're not, each and every day, 3 hours a day, I host the Y'all Show, which you can find at y'all.com and also on your favorite podcast options. And I talk about the South for 3 hours every single day. So if you enjoy hearing about history and news and politics and food and travel, and we'll even throw in some Citadel talk every now and then, check out the Y'all Show at y'all.com and on your favorite podcast platform. So that is where we stand as we wrap up. Andrew, thank you again for being on this elongated edition of Citadel GrayLine. We'll keep it shorter going forward and wish you well with the hurricane passing through in the next few hours.
Well, thank you. I'm going to try to stay dry.
All right. And Thomas, you stay dry too. Always good to see you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Back, John.
All right. And I thank you all as well for being a part of Citadel GrayLine. We will see you back here getting you ready for the Campbell Fighting Camels coming to Johnson-Haygood Stadium for week 2. Until we see you again, thank you for being a part of Citadel GrayLine.